Heartwarming reunion. Billionaire discovers his ex is now his doctor during life-changing checkup. Jack Thompson walked into Cedar Grove Medical Clinic, a stark contrast from his usual polished glass towers. The air was thick with antiseptic and a hint of something more real: humanity. He could almost feel the weight of regret pushing on his chest, reminding him of the choices he had made years ago. He was a billionaire now, his name a part of every headline, every business deal, but deep down, he felt lost. Just across the reception desk, he saw a familiar face, a face he thought he'd buried in the archives of his heart. Emily. His high school sweetheart. Now a doctor, she looked radiant, her compassion radiating outwards as she interacted with the patients. Memories rushed back, her laughter, the gentle swing of her hair in the summer breeze, the way she used to close her eyes when she shared her dreams. Regrets churned in his stomach. "Jack?" she said, disbelief tinging her voice, pulling him from his thoughts. "What are you doing here?" Just a routine checkup," he stammered, feeling like a boy caught in the past. Her eyes sparkled with memories too. But there was something else, a shimmer of disappointment. Jack felt his heart tighten. Did she hate him for leaving? For choosing wealth over love? The conversation flowed hesitantly, punctuated by the realities of their lives. Jack couldn't shake the guilt that settled like a stone in his gut. As Emily checked his vitals, he watched her with awe. She fought tirelessly for those who couldn't afford healthcare, her hands steady and eyes focused. He realized how far they had drifted, how one's dreams could lift them into a different stratosphere, while the others grounded in community service. "Thank you for your service, Dr. Stevens," a patient said, breaking through his reverie. Jack felt the lump in his throat grow. Her dedication shoved his success into the shadows. Before they could dive deeper into the painful undercurrents, chaos erupted. An emergency: a patient collapsed in the waiting room. Adrenaline surged, and Jack instinctively stepped forward, surprised at his own reactiveness. As Emily jumped into action, issuing commands, Jack felt helpless. He watched, his heart racing as she took charge. "Call for a stretcher. I need vitals," she shouted, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. Jack's mind raced, his world of board meetings and luxury suddenly feeling distant and irrelevant. He rushed to gather supplies, diving into the unfamiliar territory of healthcare. They were a team again, if only for a moment. Their hands brushed, and each time, sparks shot through him. Amidst the chaos, he couldn't focus. Watching Emily, he saw the fire in her eyes, the unwavering commitment to saving lives. In that moment, the fog of his isolation began to lift, revealing the profound truth that success could not be defined by wealth alone. "Jack! I need you here!" Emily yelled, pulling him back into their world of urgency. His heart raced. Could he embrace the vulnerability of stepping into her realm? As the patient stabilized, Jack found himself at the precipice of change: a choice to step back into Emily's life, or retreat to his opulent solitude. In that heart-stopping moment, an internal battle raged. Would he let the love of his past guide him toward a better future, or would he shield himself behind the walls he had built so high? The answer hung in the air, heavy with unspoken dreams, leaving readers leaning in, hearts racing to see what would happen next. Jack's heart pounded in his chest, the atmosphere thick with adrenaline and uncertainty. The emergency room had settled into a tense quiet, but within him, the storm raged on. Emily glanced at him, her eyes searching, and for a moment, everything around them faded away. She didn't just need him, she needed someone who understood the weight of responsibility, someone willing to throw themselves into the unknown. "Stay close," she said, urgency and a hint of familiarity etched in her voice. "You can help." Jack nodded, though the enormity of the situation crashed down on him. He'd spent years navigating high-stakes negotiations and closing million-dollar deals, but here the stakes were life and death. As he settled into the role she entrusted him with, he pushed his fears aside. Emily had always seen something in him, a potential he had long since buried beneath success and wealth. "Grab the AED." Emily shouted to him, and he was moving before he even registered it. He sprinted to the supply room, the sterile smell of disinfectant stinging his nose, and his mind raced through the familiar phrases from health and safety training he'd long forgotten. When he returned, he handed her the device, their fingers brushing together once more. A jolt of electricity ran through him, one that tied back to a time when their futures seemed intertwined. "Thank you," she said breathlessly as she worked. There was an intensity in her focus that pushed him to mirror it. With every command she issued, he felt himself aligning closer to her determination. Minutes felt like hours, and soon the chaos subsided as the paramedics arrived. Jack stood back, watching as they wheeled the patient away, all while his chest tightened with a bittersweet recognition. In the distance, he could hear murmurs of gratitude from the waiting room. The relief on Emily's face lit up the room, and in that fleeting moment, Jack saw her not just as his past but as a force of nature. "Jack!" she called, breaking into his thoughts. "We did it. You were fantastic." Her smile was pure, and he felt warmth swell in his chest, pulling him deeper into the present. The walls he had built slowly began to crumble, and he knew this wasn't just a chance encounter. It was something more. This is incredible work you're doing," he managed to say, voice a little husky. He hesitated, his mind racing with unspoken confessions and lingering feelings. "I know, don't." Her expression shifted from joy to something deeper, more complex. "It's not about us right now." His heart sank. The sobering reminder of their past crept in. The memories of why he left stung sharper than he expected. "Right. Of course," Jack replied, his smile faltering. He turned away, suddenly aware of the crowd, the flashing lights, and the emotional chaos swirling around them. But a part of him longed to push through the barriers, to bridge the gap that years had created. He wanted to ask her about her life, her dreams, the path that led her here. Yet fear clutched at his heart. What if the choices he had made had irrevocably altered their connection? "Tomorrow, can I come back?" and he stopped, uncertain. He was ready to dive back into her world, but the shadows of doubt loomed. Could either of them face what came next? Emily's gaze softened. "We'll see," she said, hesitation lacing her words. As she turned to help another patient, Jack stood frozen, feeling the weight of possibilities pressing down on him. Could he really allow himself the hope of a second chance, knowing how quickly life shifted? With every heartbeat, he knew he was at a crossroads, and as the buzz of the clinic enveloped him, Jack wondered if he had the courage to take the leap. What if tomorrow opened the door to something beautiful or shattered everything he held dear? Jack barely slept that night. The sterile lights of the hospital replayed in his mind, flickering like old movie reels, while the images of Emily danced in his thoughts. Her laughter echoed softly, and he felt the weight of her determination. Questions swirled. What had happened on her journey? How had she found a way to dedicate herself to this work, so vital and raw? He arrived at the clinic early, heart racing, a mix of excitement and fear coursing through him. The familiar sense of purpose from the previous day returned, though now it was tainted by a dozen uncertainties. What if she didn't want to see him? What if their paths had diverged too far to bridge the gap? As he stepped inside, the noise and bustle enveloped him. Nurses moved with urgency, physicians discussed cases over the soft hum of monitors, and patients filled the waiting area, each with their own stories and struggles. Each moment breathed life into him, reminding him why he had come, because somewhere in this chaos was Emily. "Jack!" came a voice, piercing the haze in his mind. It was Emily, striding toward him, her scrubs looking crisp and fresh, her hair tied back, a slight sheen of sweat on her brow. She looked tired yet radiated an energy that struck him as both familiar and electrifying. "Hey," he said, managing a smile, even as nerves fluttered in his stomach. "Did you come back to help?" She asked, her eyes lighting up as hope flickered in her expression. Well, I wanted to see how you were," he admitted. "And if there's anything I can do to help." "Honestly, you can keep me sane," she chuckled lightly. "Between the patients and the paperwork, it gets crazy." The moment felt heavy with possibility. The reins of the past tugged at him, whispering old regrets, but here she was, vibrant and real. "Let me know what you need, I'm all in," Jack replied, feeling a swell of determination. She nodded, then hesitated just briefly, a hint of vulnerability creeping into her gaze. "You really mean it?" "Definitely," he said, his heart pounding. "I want to be here for you, for whatever you need." As they dove into the busy day, Jack found himself swept into the rhythms of the clinic. He assisted where he could, passing supplies, calming anxious patients, even sharing laughter with the nurses. With every moment spent together, he felt the layers of their past begin to peel back, revealing a raw connection beneath the surface. Yet shadows lingered. Though time passed quickly, each shared smile was tempered with an unspoken fear, the fear of attachment, the fear of risking hearts that had once shattered. Jack wanted to put the past behind them, but uncertainty haunted him. Would their history drown out the progress they were making? When would the moment arise for them to confront what had been left unsaid? As the clinic started to wind down, Jack's heart raced at the thought of what could happen next. Emily looked over with a mixture of weariness and warmth. "So, tomorrow. Can we do this again?" "Of course," he replied, feeling a surge of hope. But just before he could leave, Emily took a step closer, her voice low. "Jack, about the other day." His breath caught. The air around them thickened, tension crackling like static. "What if we could find a way to talk about us? If you're open to it?" Jack's heart leaped, but uncertainty washed over him. What if they were walking down a path that could lead to heartbreak again? As he searched her eyes, he felt the weight of the world resting on that moment. The future of their bond teetered on the brink. Could they navigate the waters that had once pulled them apart, or were they destined to drift once more? Jack's heart raced with anticipation as he forced himself to speak. "Let us find out." As the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the clinic in hues of orange and purple, Jack stood frozen in the moment. Emily's eyes burned with a mix of hope and fear, mirroring the whirlwind of emotions swirling within him. Could they really return to the intimacy they once shared? He felt the weight of their past pressing down, the memories of laughter and love intermingled with heartache. "About us?" he echoed, his voice barely above a whisper. What could he say? The easy familiarity between them would mean tackling the complexities of their history. Emily took a deep breath, as if gathering strength. "I know it's complicated, Jack. But I see something here, something real." The way she hesitated, the vulnerability in her voice, pulled at Jack's heart. Memories of their sweetest moments flashed in his mind, the late-night talks, the shared dreams, the undeniable chemistry. "Can we start small?" he suggested, the words tumbling out before he had a chance to second-guess himself. "Maybe we could just talk. Figure out where we stand?" A small smile crept up on her face, illuminating her features. "I do like that," she replied softly. Just then, the moment of tenderness was interrupted by the sound of a commotion from the waiting area. A mother was pleading for help, her face twisted in panic. Jack instinctively turned, ready to assist. "Stay here," he said, hoping the intensity of the situation would draw them into a shared purpose, just like it had before. They rushed to help, the seriousness of the scene swallowing their earlier thoughts. The mother was frantic, clutching her young child, who had a bad fall and was crying, frightened. Emily stepped into action, her demeanor shifting like a switch had been flipped, showcasing the fierce doctor he had always admired. Jack fell into step beside her, feeling the rush of adrenaline. They worked seamlessly as a team, Emily focused and authoritative, Jack providing calm reassurances to the mother. The air crackled with purpose, yet there was an underlying comfort in their synchronicity. It felt like they were picking up right where they left off, a natural collaboration forged in the fires of urgency. After the situation was resolved, Emily turned to Jack, her eyes sparkling with gratitude. "Thanks for jumping in like that. You were amazing." "Just doing what I can," he shrugged, trying to suppress the swell of pride. He could feel a shift. They had forged a bond anew, one fueled by teamwork and care. Yet, in that moment, the earlier conversation loomed unaddressed, like an unfinished painting. As the last patient was seen and the clinic began to quiet down, Emily took a step closer. "About tomorrow, and the day after." Jack held her gaze. "I want this, Em. I want to figure us out." Before she could respond, the fire alarm blared, a high-pitched cry cutting through the silence. The staff moved quickly as protocols kicked in. Jack grabbed Emily's hand, his mind racing with confusion, adrenaline pumping through his veins. "Let us get out of here," he shouted, urging her forward, knowing they had to focus for now but dreading the conversations yet to come. Outside, amidst a sea of uncertainty as they gathered with the crowd, he caught Emily's eye again. "Once this is over, can we continue? Talk about us?" Her expression mirrored his, hope tangled with longing. "Absolutely." The fire engines roared in the distance, but Jack couldn't shake the feeling that a far deeper flame was kindling between them. But what other fires lay hidden among their past? As the future loomed uncertain, he wondered if they were ready to face the truth together. The sirens wailed louder, drowning out his thoughts, but he couldn't shake the feeling that they were headed towards something that could change everything. What would happen when the smoke cleared? Would they be left standing side by side, or would the embers of the past pull them apart once more? As they stood outside the clinic, Jack's heart raced. He could feel the heat of the moment, not just from the sirens echoing in the distance but also from the current that surged between him and Emily. The crowd around them was restless, but all he could see was her. "What if it's a false alarm?" Emily asked, her brow furrowing slightly. "Then we'll be right back inside," he replied, trying to sound more confident than he felt. There was a nervous energy that buzzed around them like the electricity in the air before a storm. She nodded, though Jack noticed her eyes flickering toward the entrance. The fire engines arrived, their red lights flashing ominously against the twilight. He squeezed her hand tighter, the warmth grounding him amid the chaos. He needed her to know he was there. "Jack," she started, but before she could finish, an emergency personnel officer approached, asking questions about evacuations. Emily's focus shifted. She was back in doctor mode, the hustle of her professional life taking over again. Watching her spring into action brought a fresh wave of admiration. He marveled at how her instincts kicked in, how she commanded everyone around her with such poise. He remembered, in that moment, the nights they'd spent sharing dreams, how her passion for medicine had always ignited something within him. "Stay safe," he called out as she hurried off to help direct a family away from the clinic. His voice drowned in the din of voices, but the way she glanced back at him brought warmth even amid the confusion. As the crew began to check the building, Jack found himself apart from the crowd. The chaos had transformed into a low hum, allowing him to gather his thoughts. He replayed their conversation, the hope in her voice, the way her hand fit perfectly in his. Could they really navigate their complicated past? Could they face the truth together? Moments later, as they waited outside, an odd mix of worry and anticipation hung thick in the air. Emily returned to his side, her expression serious. "False alarm," she reported, relief washing over her. "But we need to talk. I can't just keep running from what we are." His pulse raced. Every part of him ached to dive deep into that conversation, to sift through the unspoken words that had bottlenecked between them. "Are you sure? After everything? It's been such a long time." Her eyes sparkled with determination. "Yes. It feels different now." As he looked into her earnest gaze, the brightness of her spirit rekindled something inside him. "I want that too. But what if we open old wounds?" Emily hesitated but stepped even closer, a soft intensity framing her features. Wounds can heal, Jack. If we confront them together. Before he could respond, another loud noise cut through the air, this time a commotion near the edge of the group. A little girl, lost and crying. Instinctively, they both sprang into action again, moving to help her, their conversation shifting to the necessity of the moment. He found himself watching her interact with the girl, seeing the warmth in Emily's eyes, and the way her touch was gentle yet firm in guiding the child back to her worried parents. It reminded him of why he had fallen for her in the first place. When the girl reunited with her family, Jack caught Emily's eye again. "Once the dust settles, I want to dig into this with you." Her smile lit up his world. "Me too." But as the crowd began to disperse, a shadow of doubt loomed in the back of Jack's mind. Did they have the strength to face their shared past? What if history repeated itself and pushed them apart again? "Let us meet tonight?" he suggested, his voice steady even as uncertainty churned in his gut. She nodded, but as they parted ways, Jack's heart sank. The tension wasn't over, not with their history and the fires yet unaddressed. Would tonight bring them closer or lead to their unraveling? As the sun gave way to darkness, Jack sensed that the real burning questions were just beginning to surface. Jack sat on a park bench, the cool evening breeze brushing against his skin. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky in hues of purple and orange. Today had been full of unexpected twists, and the weight of everything hung heavy on his heart. He couldn't shake the feeling of anticipation mixed with dread that churned within him. He glanced at his watch, the minutes ticking slowly as though time itself was toying with him. Was Emily on her way? Would they really have the conversation that had been simmering on the edge of their reality for so long? The thought spiraled. Could they have the kind of connection they once shared? Would they even recognize the parts of themselves they had transformed into over the years? The memories of their past felt as distant as the stars starting to twinkle overhead. The sound of light footsteps broke his reverie. Jack looked up just as Emily emerged from the last rays of sunlight, a silhouette framed by dusk. She wore that familiar expression, a blend of determination and uncertainty. His heart raced again, a rhythm now fueled by hope. "Hey," she greeted softly, taking a seat beside him. "Hey," he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. She looked beautiful, her hair catching the evening light, a fleeting moment of normalcy amidst their chaos. They settled into an awkward silence, and Jack fought to find the right words. "I've been thinking about what you said earlier, about confronting things. It's not easy." "I know," she admitted, her fingers nervously playing with the hem of her jacket. "But we can't avoid it anymore. I don't want to pretend we can just move on without addressing us." Her honesty struck him differently this time. It was raw and heavy, yet there was an underlying tone of encouragement. "You're right," he said. "There's a lot left unsaid." "I thought I was ready to move on when I left," she continued, a vulnerable edge creeping into her voice. "But I still find myself thinking about us, about what could have been." Jack reached out, gently touching her hand. The warmth ignited memories, both sweet and painful. "I've wondered too. You were always my light, Emily. But I didn't know if I could make you happy again. I was so caught up in my own world." Her gaze met his, sincere and understanding. "We all have our battles, Jack. Yours were just different from mine. But we can face those battles together, can't we?" The simplicity of her words wrapped around him. Could he allow himself to lean into this hope they were crafting? "I'd like to try," he said, a tentative smile breaking through. "But there's still so much fear in me about losing you again." Emily's eyes softened, and he could see the flickers of her own insecurities mirrored in her expression. "What if we take it one step at a time? We start with what we want now, not what happened before." Jack nodded, the idea resonating deeply. It was a way forward, cautious yet encouraging. "Okay, one step at a time," he agreed, a newfound resolve igniting within him. But just as the weight of their conversation began to settle into clarity, a loud commotion nearby pulled them both from their intimate moment. A nearby group of teenagers were arguing, their voices rising, the tension palpable in the air. Jack glanced at Emily, and in that second, the atmosphere shifted. "Let us not get distracted," Emily said, her voice firm but her eyes dancing with urgency, reminding him of how she was a natural in crisis. "Right," he chuckled nervously, feeling the old rhythms of their connection crackling back to life amid the chaos. Yet, as they watched the little scene unfold, he realized that navigating through the noise of their past was only the beginning. Tonight wasn't just about rekindling sparks, it was about fuel for the fire that might bring back old flames or consume them whole. "Let us stick together tonight," he suggested, his heart pounding in his chest. "Whatever happens." As she agreed, they both faced the chaos surrounding them, knowing that what lay ahead might test the very foundations of their hearts. Would they emerge stronger or be lost in the fire? Jack could only hope they were ready for whatever storm was coming. The tension hung thick in the air as Jack and Emily watched the group of teenagers. The argument had escalated, and the air crackled with adrenaline. Jack felt a mix of sympathy and anxiety. They had come here to confront their feelings, yet this distraction pulled them further away from that crucial moment. "Should we intervene?" Emily asked, her brows furrowing with concern. Despite the distance between them, the comfort of her presence soothed him. Jack hesitated, his instincts torn. Maybe just let it unfold for a minute. His voice was quiet, almost drowned out by the shouting in front of them. He was both drawn to the chaos and repelled by it. As the argument reached a peak, he noticed a girl step back and trip, crashing into a nearby tree. Emily's breath hitched, and she instinctively stood up. "I'm going to check on her." "Wait." Jack called, but she was already moving, weaving through the crowd. He felt a knot in his stomach tighten as he watched her rush toward the girl, the worry etched deep on her face. "Hey, are you okay?" Emily knelt beside the girl, her nurturing instincts kicking in. Jack stayed back, both anxious and proud. She was fearless, a pillar of strength while he felt like a crumbling wall. The argument fizzled out as the group of teens saw Emily's caring nature. He could see the anger dissipating, replaced by concern for their friend. Maybe they could face their own storms with the same courage. Jack took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts. What if this moment was a sign? Just as Emily was helping to mend the chaos around them, maybe they could mend their own mess together. A few moments later, Emily returned, her hands brushing off the dirt and the worry from her face. "She's fine," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos they just witnessed. "Just a little shocked and embarrassed." "Good," he replied, unable to suppress a smile. "You always had a way with people." Emily blushed a little, glancing away shyly. "You know, I used to think that would be it for me. Helping people in small ways." She paused, her gaze turning serious. "This whole night it feels different. More than just a catch-up." Jack nodded, a mixture of hope and fear wrapping around his heart like vines. "What do you mean?" "It's like we're finally ready to face whatever's ahead," she said, her eyes searching his for understanding. "What if we're meant to help each other, not just move on?" The question hung in the air between them, profound yet simple. Could they genuinely be there for one another? He thought of all the moments they had shared, both joyous and painful. Emily took a step closer, a flicker of vulnerability in her eyes. "I want to explore this us. Together. Can we take the risk?" There it was, the loaded question that both terrified and exhilarated him. Could they rebuild what they once had? The weight of her words anchored him, and he knew the answer was out there, just beyond their reach. "Yeah, I want that too," Jack replied, heart racing again. "But what if we stumble? What if it all goes wrong again?" Emily shrugged, a glimmer of acceptance in her expression. If we stumble together. We'll pick each other up, right? He searched her face, the hope shimmering like stars turning brighter against the encroaching darkness. Yeah, together. But before they could delve deeper into what together truly meant, a loud crash echoed nearby. They both turned toward the commotion, expressions shifting instantly to concern. What now? Jack whispered, half expecting another teen incident. But when he looked closer, his breath caught in his throat. A car had lost control and veered dangerously close to the park. The realization struck him like a lightning bolt: they weren't just facing internal battles anymore. This chaos felt more urgent than anything they had planned. Emily! He shouted as he grabbed her hand, their moment of renewed connection suddenly overshadowed by the looming danger. Jack! She exclaimed, eyes wide with shock. In that instant, everything they had discussed, their hopes, fears, dreams, seemed to hang in the balance as the darkness of the unknown pressed closer. Would they have the courage to face this new storm together, or would it shatter everything once more? The pace of their hearts quickened, and as the sound drew nearer, Jack couldn't help but wonder, in a world full of chaos, could they emerge stronger amidst the wreckage? Jack's grip tightened around Emily's hand, the jarring noise of metal scraping against pavement drowning out everything else. In a blink, the vibrant park morphed into a scene from a nightmare, the cars swerving wildly, tires screeching like a pack of wild animals. Run! He pulled Emily closer, urging her to move as the world slowed for just a heartbeat. They weren't just two friends standing on the sidelines anymore, they were players in a life-and-death game. The sound of glass shattering and screaming drew others around them, and for a moment, chaos reigned. They turned and bolted, adrenaline flooding their veins. Jack could feel Emily's heartbeat racing alongside his, the rhythm quickened by fear and shared purpose. He led her through the throng of people, weaving past startled onlookers unsure of what to do. Somewhere behind, the car crashed into the nearby fencing separating the park from the road, sending bolts of panic ricocheting through the crowd. Jack turned to check on Emily, her face a mask of worry but resolute. For a brief moment, they locked eyes, and the haze of confusion solidified into a purpose. "We have to help," Emily shouted, her voice barely audible over the chaos. "Are you sure?" Jack hesitated, but he could already see the determination in her eyes. It mirrored his own. "Yeah," she urged, already pulling away from him toward the wreckage. There could be someone trapped. Without thinking, Jack hurried after her, fighting against the tide of people trying to move away from the crash. He felt alive with fear and exhilaration, each step pounding a rhythm of hope that maybe this was a chance. A chance to face something real. Something together. As they approached, Jack noticed the car was partially crumpled, the driver's side door mangled like a crumpled piece of paper. An older man was slumped over the wheel, unconscious, while several spectators stood frozen, unsure of how to help. "Call for someone," Emily instructed, as she knelt beside the car. "I think he's hurt." Jack fumbled for his phone, his fingers trembling. "Wait, let me check if he is still breathing," she called out. With a fierce focus, she opened the door wider, inspecting the man's condition, and Jack watched as her instincts kicked in. This wasn't just Emily the caring friend, it was Emily the brave heroine. His heart swelled with admiration, battling the dread crawling up his spine. She had become this person, someone fierce and strong and ready to act. Once he made the call for help, Jack returned his attention to Emily, who was now checking for signs of life. Her hands moved with purpose, and he realized that this moment was nothing like he had ever considered. Here they were no longer just two people reconciling their past, but two allies confronting real danger in the present. "Stay with me, sir," Emily said firmly, urgency dripping from her words. "Help is on the way." A moment passed, and the driver stirred slightly, groaning as his eyelids fluttered. An explosion of relief coursed through Jack. Maybe they could face anything together, side by side. Through the chaotic energy swirling around them, Emily's determined gaze met his again, and Jack felt the surge of connection between them grow stronger amidst the turmoil. Then, the sirens sliced through the night, and hope flickered like a candle in the wind. "Jack, I think he's waking up," Emily exclaimed. In that breathless moment, as the distant sound of help approached, Jack understood true courage wasn't just about facing monsters. Sometimes, it was about helping strangers and embracing the unknown, hand in hand. But amidst this unfolding drama, questions were brewing. What would happen when the dust settled? Would they go back to their safe, familiar routine? Or, just maybe, was something fundamental about to change between them, setting them on a path neither of them could yet see? As the first responders rushed towards them, Jack felt that familiar mix of fear and elation. Whatever lay ahead, they would discover it together, and perhaps, together would mean something entirely different than they had ever imagined. The first responders arrived, all blaring sirens and flashing lights. Jack's heart pounded as he stepped back, letting them take over. Emily remained by the driver's side, her focus unwavering. He felt a swell of pride. She was calm under pressure, embodying a strength that he admired deeply. "Make way. We need space." A paramedic barked, rushing to the vehicle. Jack stood a few steps back, watching the scene unfold. The urgency of the situation gripped him, but so did the realization of how quickly everything could change in an instant. They had leapt from their ordinary lives into something extraordinary, something raw and real. Still kneeling by the vehicle, Emily continued to provide encouragement to the driver, her voice a steadying force in the chaotic swirl of first responders. Jack caught snippets of her words, how she assured him that help had arrived. He felt awe wash over him, more than just for her bravery. It was something deeper, something stirring within him, awakening feelings he had buried for far too long. "Jack!" Emily suddenly called, snapping him from his thoughts. "Can you help with his leg? I think it's pinned under the console." "Right." He rushed back, ducking down to get a better look. The driver groaned again. "We're here. Just hang on." Jack felt the adrenaline pulsing in his veins, his hands shaking as he looked for a way to free the man. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. They pushed together with all their might. The console shifted slightly, and they heard the driver gasp, but he was still trapped. Panic surged momentarily, and Jack glanced at Emily. She was focused, her determination giving him strength. He took a deep breath, their gazes locking again. It was like a silent agreement, a promise that they would see this through together. Again. He shouted, and she nodded, her face set with resolve. "Ready? 1, 2, 3. They heaved together once more, and this time, they freed the man's leg. Relief washed over Jack like a cool breeze. They had done it. He caught the driver's eye, seeing gratitude shimmer through the haze of pain. "Help is here, sir. You're going to be okay," Emily reassured him. Jack felt a swell of hope and realized that in this moment, they were more than just friends, they were partners, having fought side by side against something terrifying. The paramedics took over, swiftly assessing the driver and loading him onto a stretcher. As they worked, Jack felt a sense of clarity settling in. Something had shifted between him and Emily, something that went beyond their shared history of friendship, something vibrant and pulsating. When the paramedics wheeled the driver away, Emily turned to Jack, her expression a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. "We did it, Jack. We really helped him." "Yeah," he breathed, still reeling from the intensity of the moment. "I didn't know we had it in us." The crowd began to disperse, the noise gradually fading into the background. But Jack felt a new rhythm in the air, heavy with potential. The chaotic moments had forged a deeper bond between them, a connection that was undeniable. "Maybe we should," Emily started, then paused, biting her lip as she looked away. "What?" Jack prompted, wanting to know where her thoughts led. I don't know. This felt different. Like we could do more together. Jack could only nod, aware of the unspoken possibilities that lay before them, still tinged with uncertainty but shimmering with hope. They were on the brink of something, that much was clear. But as they stood amongst the remnants of chaos, one question loomed larger than all the rest. Where would this newfound strength take them next? Come on, he finally said, breaking the silence. Let us get out of here. We can talk about this, about us, once we're somewhere quieter. As they walked away from the crowd, Jack felt a spark of anticipation. What would this next chapter look like for them, and would they be brave enough to step into the unknown together? The park had dimmed under the blanket of night, but the stars began to twinkle overhead, reflecting the hope blossoming in Jack's heart. He led Emily away from the chaos, their fingers still intertwined as they stepped into the softly lit path, illuminated by the glow of lamp posts that lined the way. Each stride felt like a declaration. They had just faced calamity together, conquerors of chaos in a moment where fear could have easily swallowed them whole. Jack's resolve strengthened with each heartbeat. Jack, Emily said, breaking the comfortable silence as they walked. I know tonight didn't go as we planned, but it felt good to work together like that. He couldn't help but smile. You were incredible. I'm amazed at how calm you were through everything. It reminded me of why I admired you so much back in school. She looked down, a faint blush creeping on her cheeks, but Jack could see strength in her eyes, a determination that ignited something within him. It was palpable, energizing. Let us not wait anymore, Emily blurted, emotions bubbling over. Let us talk about us now before we lose the momentum of tonight. Jack's heart raced at her words. The gravity of their conversation felt monumental, like an anchor dropping into uncharted depths. But he felt ready. Okay, he replied simply, stopping under one of the lamps. The warm light draped them in comfort, and he released her hand, nervously running fingers through his hair. After everything. I can't pretend that I never thought about us, she began, her voice steady but soft. Leaving things unresolved just doesn't sit right with me anymore. His pulse quickened. Neither does it for me, Em. I left because I thought I was doing the right thing, focusing on my career and wealth. He paused, a deep breath filling his lungs as he let the weight of honesty carry him. But I realize now that it led me away from the things that truly matter, like us. Her eyes locked onto his, shimmering with emotion that made his heart ache. But we didn't have the same path. You built this life, Jack. A beautiful life. I chose to stay grounded. I gave up the dreams we shared, but now I see I didn't need to. I just thought I needed to choose. I thought I was building success, but it feels empty without sharing it with someone meaningful, Jack replied, his voice thick with conviction. I don't want to hide behind walls. I want to embrace something real, something fierce like what we just faced tonight. Emily stepped closer, the space between them shrinking, and Jack felt a warmth flood through him, pulling him deeper into her orbit. What if we navigate this together? Like we did today? She looked vulnerable but determined. Together, he echoed, slipping his hand back into hers, fingers entwined as if they had been meant to fit like this all along. In that shared moment, the past became a faint echo, mingling with the tender awareness of their present. Jack took a leap, speaking what had been left unvoiced for far too long. What if we start anew? A clean slate, with the knowledge of what we are capable of together? I'd like that, she whispered, her breath warm against his skin. Hope surged between them like a current, electrifying and alive, and in the gentle light, they found clarity. Let us take it one day at a time, Jack proposed, feeling an exhilarating sense of freedom wash over him. We could do activities together, volunteer, maybe see what aligns us. It can be our foundation. Her smile cut through the night's heaviness, pure and radiant. That's a perfect place to start. As they stood there, hearts ablaze beneath the stars, Jack felt everything blossoming a shift, a chance to transform their past lover's pain into the powerful fuel of a strong partnership. In that moment, beneath the vastness of the night sky, Jack understood that, sometimes, life's greatest lessons were born from chaos. With each passing heartbeat, they weren't just stepping into the unknown, they were diving headfirst into a future rich with possibilities. The air buzzed with electricity, with connection. They turned toward one another, and the urgency of their earlier fears faded, replaced by sparks of excitement. Hopeful words lingered, quiet but resolute. Their journey would be filled with challenges, but they were ready to face them together. As they walked into the night, hand in hand, Jack knew one truth that resonated louder than anything else: they had found a way back to each other, not just as two people tethered by the past, but as a united force ready to conquer whatever storms lay ahead. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.